Tonight, a deadly explosion rocks East Harlem, demolishing 2 buildings.
This is a tragedy of the worst kind.
A desperate search for survivors.
I wanted to take her out. I can't even do that because I don't know where she at.
People running for their lives, others trapped, victims found in the streets.
I heard a big boom, and I see a lady trapped with her daughter in her hand.
And I saw everything flying. I think I saw even bodies. I don't know, it was too fast and crazy.
Stories emerge of heroism and absolute horror.
So we had to just start taking rocks out and just take them, grab them, and bring them down.
Now the search for answers. Team coverage of the East Harlem explosion starts right now.
Well, they are the scenes reminiscent of September 11th. Firefighters climbing and combing through piles of rubble. And that's what one lawmaker called this, East Harlem's 9/11.
Tonight we are covering all angles of today's deadly explosion that leveled 2 apartment buildings. The frantic search for survivors, the victims, the investigation, and much more.
This is Pix 11's team coverage of the explosion in East Harlem. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Scott Stanford.
And I'm Tamsin Fidel. Let's get started. The force of the explosion was felt a mile away. And here's where it happened. East Harlem, 116th Street and Park Avenue. 2 buildings, 1644 and 1646 Park, were obliterated by a suspected gas explosion. And this is the latest information on that explosion tonight. Straight from City Hall, we can now confirm 3 fatalities in this accident and 27 injuries. It's important to note the number has been fluctuating throughout the evening. Some reports have the injury toll above 60 people, but again, 27 injuries are now being reported by the city and 9 people are still listed as missing.
And right now, a desperate search for survivors is underway. Question is anyone buried beneath the rubble? Adding insult to the injury, the temperature will soon start falling fast. Pix 11's Jay Dow is live with more on the missing. Jay.
Well, Scott, the cleanup continues, but as you said, so does the search for the missing. That search not complete tonight. You can see the smoke billowing in the background. We can tell you that a sinkhole has developed in front of those 2 apartment buildings, the result of an underground water main break caused by the explosion. Injuries may or may not heal, and relatives of those who lost their lives in Wednesday's East Harlem gas explosion will mourn their loss. But as daylight gave way to darkness outside PS 157.
Because I know he lived in that building, and when there was the explosion, I know he lived in that building.
Residents like Maria Melendez were emotionally stuck, still reeling from the blast and worrying about her friend and neighbor, Georgie, who's still missing.
I didn't see him around. I'll always see him around.
And you don't know if he made it out? Fire officials list 9 people as unaccounted for, missing. There's so much debris scattered in front of 1644 and 1646 Park Avenue that it will take some time to determine if there are any victims under the rubble. The hope is that the missing are safe elsewhere and just haven't been reached to confirm their whereabouts. Maria wasn't alone. There were several other people also hoping and praying their loved ones would turn up safe.
They need comfort.
American Red Cross volunteer Iris Allen spent a very long day comforting all of them.
It's just a hard thing to hear that someone is longing for their missing person, not knowing the status of that person, and they're waiting, but there is a lot of help, there's a lot of comfort, and they've got family around them, and until they get that news, I think they're just going to be in that state of, concern and worry.
We have the American Red Cross attending to those families. We have the NYPD detectives talking to those families. And of course, anyone who thinks that they are looking for someone who is missing, or they just want more information about someone who they think might have been in that building, they're asked to call the 311 system for more information. We are live in East Harlem tonight. Jay Dow, Pix 11 News. Scott, Tamsin, back to you.
All right, Jay, thank you. There are new details about the people who died in this morning's explosion. 3 fatalities are confirmed, and we're now learning the identities of some of those victims. Pix 11's Nicole Johnson has this tragic part of the story for us tonight. Nicole.
Well, we know one of those victims was a peace officer here at Hunter College at the 119th Street location. It was just 3 blocks away from where she lived. She was on medical leave. That's why she was home with her elderly mother in the apartment when the explosion happened. 44-year-old Griselda Camacho lost her life when her apartment building, one of 2, just exploded here on 116th Street and Park Avenue. The impact sent debris flying everywhere. Some people became trapped in their cars, in their apartments, in the rubble. Camacho is one of 3 confirmed dead. She was a peace officer here at Hunter College, worked at the Silberman School of Social Work just 3 blocks away from her apartment. Camacho's supervisor was too distraught to say much. He is also the chaplain for the peace officers. All of them are heartbroken. What are you going to tell your officers? How are you going to keep them strong?
I can't answer that. Right now I got to stay strong. I'm hurting myself, so let me go. I'm really hurt.
Camacho's elderly mother also lives in the apartment. She was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition. Tonight on this Facebook page, remembering Sergeant Camacho, family and friends are leaving messages, calling her a hero, and within minutes, the page received hundreds of likes. Camacho joined the team of peace officers here in 2008, and those who knew her say she was always smiling. A spokesperson for Hunter College said in a statement, "Our hearts go out to Griselda's family at this terrible time. We know this is a difficult time for all those who knew and worked with Sergeant Camacho. All of you will be in our thoughts in the days ahead."
That's really tragic what happened, and just hearing about it, yeah, everybody seems really sad about it.
And we know the identity of a second victim, Carmen Tanco. She's 67 years old. She lived at 1644, the same building as Camacho. The 2 were neighbors, and they lived right above that church. Now, police are still waiting to notify the 3rd victim's family. So if we get that person's identity, of course, Scott, we'll bring it to you as soon as possible. For now, we are live in East Harlem. Nicole Johnson, Pix 11 News. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Nicole, the investigation into the explosion in East Harlem is underway. The NTSB is on the case tonight. Now, to be clear, federal investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating this deadly gas explosion. That, of course, raises its own question.
You may be asking, why is the NTSB here? That's the organization that investigates aviation accidents. And yes, we certainly do investigate aviation accidents, but we also have the statutory responsibility to investigate accidents involving all modes of transportation, including the pipeline and that transportation of hazardous materials.
And we will have much more on the investigation into the blast, plus a look at how a new report that shows just how old New York's gas mains really are. That's coming up in our next half hour. Well, the tragedy started to unfold at 9:15 this morning, and it's been an intense timeline ever since. Pix 11's James Ford's been at the blast site since the first moments after the explosion. He's live with the details of what happened and the next steps for rescue and recovery crews. James.
And here is certainly one fascinating thing about this scene. You see my umbrella. It is raining quite intently, which is usually something that helps to put out fires. Still, you look up the street right there at the end of the block, and yeah, you see all that smoke from flame that continues to smolder more than 12.5 hours after this explosion took place. It has been a long day for about 250 firefighters and just as many cops and federal agents as well. A long day that's come into night and is well expected to go long into the day ahead and beyond. Just before sundown, the explosion and fire scene remained active and smoke continued to rise. Some firefighters who'd spent much of the day fighting back smoke and flames now changed roles, going back into the scene carrying stretchers. The hope was that they'd carry as yet unaccounted for victims out alive, but the heavy debris smoldering all day and into the night caused some hope to fade like the daylight.
The noise was so loud that my ears was ringing. Boom, I never heard anything like that before. Then everything started shaking. It shook me off the bed.
Michelle Nelson lives at the end of the block from the explosion, which happened just after 9:30 a.m.
I tried to run towards a fire escape. The smoke was coming inside. Then I ran towards my door. The smoke was coming through my door. So the best place I can go is to the bathroom.
This photo of flames rising high above the rubble was taken just minutes after the explosion by this neighbor.
I actually seen people on the street moving debris off the street.
They were trying to search through this heavy damage, all that was left of 2 5-story buildings. Peter Daly was one of the people searching.
And I see a lady trapped with her daughter in her hand and couldn't get out because of all the rubble that was in front of the door. So once I seen that, I ran to the door, pulled it open, got her and the child out, and there was another lady that was trapped in there. She was sleeping in her room, and she was asking me to help her. So I get her out of her bed, get her pants, her sneakers, and her purse, and got her out of there. And
about 17 minutes before the explosion, Con Ed confirms that somebody called about a natural gas smell. Local community leaders tell Pix 11 that neighbors had been complaining about it for days. What caused the gas line to explode is officially under investigation, but its effects are very clear. In addition to the 3 people confirmed dead, the FDNY says at least 27 people are injured, like this man with that gash on his face. He appeared to be in shock as he was escorted from the scene, and this woman appeared to be among the 27 serious injuries reported. 2 of the people in serious condition suffered life-threatening injuries.
This is a tragedy of the worst kind because there was no indication in time to save people.
And the mayor vowing to have city investigators look into these reports that there had been calls about a heavy natural gas smell here at this site for days. And what also continues, that search for the missing. Officially, 9 people unaccounted for, including this person. This piece of paper was shoved into my hand by a community activist here saying, if anyone knows anything about this person, Andreas Panagopoulos, please call 311. Well, he still has not been found at this hour, and his family gets more and more concerned. There remains hope here at the scene, but with each passing hour, that hope continues to fade. And we'll point this out as well. There are dogs here on the scene trained in rescue, in rubble, but they're also trained to sniff out cadavers, and we are told they may end up having to do that task for which they've been trained. Reporting live from East Harlem at the blast site, I'm James Ford, Pix 11 News. Back to you now.
All right, James, our hearts certainly go out to the families that are waiting to have some kind of word from the scene. 9 people still unaccounted for at this point. We're talking about the weather today because that is a big factor. James has his umbrella out. So did a number of our reporters tonight. And that is an issue as firefighters continue that search.
And now the wind advisory is in effect. The wind advisory is in effect for 31 to 39 mile per hour winds gusting 50 miles per hour. Nassau and Suffolk County across New Jersey. We're in for a tough go here. So let's talk about it. Really, the wind is just one factor. The rain coming and crossing, you see James out there with moderate to heavy rain in Harlem. That's now moving into Queens. It's moving into Nassau and Suffolk County. That will be the deal as we go a little close. You'll be able to see embedded in that. There could even be showers and thunderstorms as well. Now, you're going to dry it out a little bit. There's snow up and over Bangor, Maine, where they're going to have a lot of that. But we're going to get a lot of cold, and we're going to get a lot of wind. You don't have to worry about a coating of snow. That's not going to happen. But you have to be concerned about the wind, which will affect the rescue mission, which will affect the first responders, which will affect the firefighters, and will affect everybody outdoors tomorrow at 25 miles per hour. And you can see those winds will gust upwards of 40 miles per hour. And that'll be the story throughout the day. It's the reason for the advisory until 6 p.m. What about the temp, all right? Diving, that's the only word I can put to it. 20 degrees, you can see it at 6 a.m. and then by the midday hour, 24. And that's with a lot of sun, not doing better than 26 when the normal is 48. That's not going to cut it in and around the tri-state area. But this is the hand we're dealt by Mother Nature. High pressure is in from Canada. It's a cold, windy day. We talked about it. That'll be for tomorrow, so let's spell it out. Early in the morning, the kids get going, you go to work, and believe it or not, the water's going to be frozen north and west of the city, in the city, and of course in the site that we have been discussing all day in Harlem. 22 degrees, and that's going to make it tough for the firefighters with water going frozen really throughout the day. And it doesn't get any better than this. The chill is on, the skies are clear, the sun is out, and we're only going to be in the mid-20s, 26 for a high. And look at the wind chill factor. 0 to 5 degrees in the city of Nassau and Suffolk County, 0 to minus 10 degrees. Hello, February. And remember 48 hours ago, it felt like the end of April. 5-day forecast, 7-day forecast later on.